A car glides through an early drizzle and stops outside a glass building. Inside, the lobby is cool and precise. Miles Harper leans on the marble staircase, suit immaculate, eyes on finance tickers. He is 42, famous for turning failing companies into gold. A small voice tugs at his coat. Lila, excuse me, sir. Do you know where the lobby gift shop is? Miles looks down. A little girl in a coat 3 sizes too big holds out a crisp envelope. Lila, here's 50. I need a dad for one day. Will you? Miles takes the envelope. Inside, bills and a crayon note. Only for dad for one day. Miles, where's your mom? Lila, she couldn't. She said maybe the company could lend me a dad just for Saturday. I looked up rich people with dad energy and found your name. He could hand her to security. Instead, he says something rare. Miles, all right. One day? Where do you live? Lila, just around the corner. Can you carry me? He lifts her into his arm. She giggles. For a moment, he is an actor given a role he didn't audition for. At the narrow apartment, Janet, 32, wears exhaustion like a sweater. She kisses Lila quickly. Janet, you found someone? Lila, he said yes. Miles, I'm Miles Harper. I can take Lila for the day. Janet, why would you do that? Miles, because you need rest, and because she offered $50, and I'm curious how a market works when it's not measured in profit. Janet studies him and nods. Lila takes his hand like a contract. At the park, Miles watches a small economy of alliances and sandbox trades. Lila trades her cookie for his business card and considers it a victory. Lila, why do you look like you live in the dark? Miles, I live near the dark, the productive kind. Machines and numbers are warm in a way that doesn't smell like soup. Lila, do you like soup? Miles, I like things arranged. Lila, people are messy, but they have better jokes. He kneels in the dirt and lets his cuffs soil. She teaches him sandbox rules. Share snacks, say sorry, trade fair. They find a used bookshop. Lila picks a battered fairy tales book. Miles buys a history book with margin notes. He pays with cash to keep the day real. Lunch is at a diner. Lila orders pancakes. Miles watches syrup strings and forgets spreadsheets for a minute. Lila, do you have a wife? Miles, no. Lila, you should get one. Then you'd learn how to do dishes. Miles, I can outsource dishes. Lila, outsourcing doesn't make you know how to make someone laugh when their tongue is cold. They visit a small community theater where Lila helps in a scene. She delivers a line. If you forget the sky, I will count for you. And Miles finds his palms damp. On a bench afterward, she slips her hand into his. The small warm hand fits his and pins him to the present. At a thrift store, Lila buys a blue sweater, pronounces it her Dad Day sweater. Miles chooses a cheap toy car that evokes forgotten roads. Lila, tell me a secret. Miles, secrets are expensive. Lila, this is market rate. $50. He tells her the truth he carries. His father left, and he learned to believe understanding could predict everything. She listens like a verdict. They walk home in gold slant light. An ice cream drops and a small child cries. Miles buys 2 cones. Back at the apartment, Janet waits. Janet, how was your day? Lila, Daddy is very good. He knows big words and small games. Weeks pass. Miles keeps the crayon note in his sock drawer. He calls sometimes, leaves silly voicemails. He begins to change at work. He protects people's time, funds a small community arts program, and speaks for flexible schedules. People question his motives. He keeps doing it anyway. Janet gets a full-time job with long hours. Janet, I can do it, but I need mornings. Miles, I'll take mornings. I'll arrange it. He schedules pickups, hires a neighbor helper, reads bedtime stories, learns to braid badly, makes pancakes lopsided. He misses a recital once and learns how to apologize. A health scare arrives. Janet collapses. The diagnosis requires surgery. Miles sits in fluorescent corridors, brings books, pays bills. The community organizes a benefit. He becomes a person who keeps vigil. Lila asks bluntly, Lila, is Janet going to be all right? Miles, she will be stronger than this. People are often stronger than they know. They wait together. After surgery, Janet is fragile. Miles reads the fairy tales he bought and feels the truth in a sentence he missed. A net of hands will catch the moon when it forgets the sky. Janet recovers slowly. Miles becomes regular at checkups and recitals. His involvement draws whispers. Some say PR stunt, but the family's life continues, private and ordinary. Then Miles' mother, Evelyn, arrives quietly one afternoon with a suitcase. She sits at the foot of Janet's bed. Evelyn, I would like to meet my granddaughter. Miles, she's not mine to give. Evelyn, I know. I just want to be forgiven. He arranges a small introduction. Evelyn brings old recipes and awkward apologies. Forgiveness is slow. They build it like a bridge. A year after the first day, Lila performs in a school play about a city learning to sing together. Miles sits in the audience, holding wildflowers. After the show, he meets Janet with a look that says he's proud of the small things she keeps sacred. At home, he opens the envelope and reads the crayon note again. He pins it to a frame with the date. The $50 remains, less important now than the day it bought him, the beginning. There is no neat montage. There is a kitchen table with mismatched mugs, Lila doing homework in crayons, Janet humming as she folds clothes, Evelyn making slightly burnt pancakes. They make a mess baking a pie, flour blooms in the air like confetti. Lila claps, Janet laughs. Evelyn tells a story about a pie that once went wrong and became a favorite. Outside, the city measures itself in quarterly reports. Inside, a millionaire learns the ledger of being someone's dad without the title's legal binding. Lila falls asleep with a hand tucked under his. Miles, who built empires by parsing risk, finally understands a simple calculus. Some investments pay in returns that have no price tag. He turns off the light and listens to the soft, irregular breathing that belongs to someone who trusts you. Miles, good night, kiddo. Lila, good night, daddy. The darkness is full of ordinary things being kept. Miles' childhood, a memory so precise it might be a ledger entry. He is 7, knees scabbed, a father teaching him to tie knots with gloved hands and a sigh that tasted like leaving. The knot is taught as a practical thing but becomes, later, a symbol of promises that can be undone. His mother leaves with a suitcase and an apology that folds too small to cover everything. Miles learns to count absences and to stack them in neat piles. He learns to be the person who makes nothing unpredictable because unpredictability once cost him everything. Back in the present, the pattern of care widens slowly. Miles institutes small rituals, Saturday pancake practice, a terrible dance he performs where he flails and Lila howls with laughter, a ritual reading of the same 3 pages from the fairy tales. He becomes expert at the way Lila hates broccoli but loves green beans, at the precise pitch of her voice when she's pleading, the way she tucks a note under his pillow that says calls don't count if they're work. At work, his choices begin to ripple. A mid-level manager approaches him about burnout. Miles, who once measured a project's viability in months of cash flow, finds himself listening until the manager stops speaking. He registers the human cost of efficiency and starts an initiative to give employees 3 choice days a quarter for family needs. The board resists at first, baffled by a plan with fuzzy returns. He uses a different language: retention metrics, recruitment advantage, goodwill. The program is small but principled, aimed at keeping people whole enough to do great work. A small scandal ignites when a gossip column tries to brand his involvement with a family as a publicity angle. Photographers stake out Janet's building. A reporter calls asking for the angle, the money, the spectacle. Janet wants privacy and asks Miles to keep the cameras away. He learns the modern art of building a firewall. Press statements kept minimal, security adjusted, a few carefully worded refusals. He uses company communications to protect the family rather than announce them. Meanwhile, the community arts program flourishes. Lila stages a tiny production that becomes a neighborhood hit. Actors who once auditioned alone now rehearse with kids teaching them sincerity. Miles redistributes a portion of budget to fund young actors' stipends and to pay for after-school programs. The board asks why he risks equity for theater. He asks in return what is equity without people to spend it with. The answer is messy and partial. It does not fit neatly in a spreadsheet. He starts to keep track of different metrics. How many children attend rehearsals? How many parents can take a shift off because of program hours? How many more employees stay a year longer? Then comes Lila's 7th birthday. Janet hosts a small party with secondhand decorations, each balloon lifted by neighbors' generosity. Miles watches Lila blow out candles on a cake that says Super Lila in icing that has begun to droop with melting optimism. He gives her a present, a small wooden music box. She opens it with the reverence of someone recognizing treasure. The music plays a simple tune. Lila dances with a plastic crown crooked on her head. During the party, a schoolmate, Marco, taunts Lila about her missing front tooth and calls her half-smile. Lila's face clouds. Miles, who has spent a life deflecting conflict with spreadsheets, is frontline parenting for the first time. He does not yell. He approaches Marco calmly, kneels to his level, and asks him what it feels like to lose something. Marco shrugs. Miles tells Marco about how everyone loses things, teeth, jobs, people, and how the brave thing is what you do with what remains. Marco listens, vaguely chastened, and the moment passes. Lila recovers and declares loudly that missing teeth make better smiles because they sparkle like moons. Janet's recovery continues. There are days when she is better and days she is fragile, when the small household lives on rationed optimism. Miles learns to manage hospital schedules and insurance paperwork with a patience he never showed for quarterly calls. He sits through hours of waiting rooms, and he learns to fold the same towels with a rhythm that becomes meditation. On a late summer evening, Evelyn calls Miles. She is on a bus without a destination and wants to visit. The call is short. Miles hangs up more than once, then calls back. He invites her to a small dinner at Janet's where awkwardness will have to do. Evelyn arrives carrying a tin of old photographs. At the table, she tells stories badly but earnestly. She apologizes in ways that are small and true. Forgiveness grows not from grand gestures, but from repeated tiny openings. Miles watches his mother and his life rearrange themselves into a new, tentative map. A crisis at work tests new priorities. A hostile bidder puts in an offer that would cost jobs. The meeting to decide is stone-faced and brutal. Miles feels the old reflex: protect numbers, sleep later. But then he remembers the sound of Lila practicing lines for the school play, the way Janet improvised dinner from nothing, the smell of Evelyn's burnt pancakes. He calls for a vote and offers an alternative plan that sacrifices immediate profit for employee retention and community contracts. The board is split. He bargains, argues, and finally wins a narrow compromise. Some shareholders grumble. A few employees keep their positions. It is not perfect, but it is different. Months fold into routine. There are small failures, missed dentist appointments, a power outage that leaves the oven cold on Thanksgiving, an angry voicemail from a client he failed to prioritize. Each mistake is met with an apology and a correction. He discovers that apologies, like budgets, are more useful when transparent and timely. Lila grows fluent in grown-up contradictions. She announces solemnly that she will be a dinosaur when she grows up, then quickly revises, a scientist dinosaur who paints. She draws a house with many doors and writes each person's name above one. She draws Miles with a tie and a patch on his heart. Miles keeps the drawing in his office for days, and when investors ask what keeps him grounded, he shows them the doodle and says simply, "This." The final months of the story don't end in a tidy resolution because life seldom offers those. Instead, the shift is subtle. A man who once measured time in meetings now measures it in minutes he will not give away. He learns the fine art of arriving, of kneeling for scraped knees, of listening to a child count the windows at night and naming each one with a silly story. The $50 remains tucked in a frame under the crayon note. Not spent, not necessary. It is a talisman of a day that changed a definition. On a bland winter morning, Miles stands at the window of his apartment and watches the city wake. He thinks about the small ledger he keeps now, appointments he refuses, calls he returns, children's plays he attends. He hears Lila in the next room practicing a song. His phone buzzes with a shareholder's demand. He lets the call go to voicemail. He goes to the kitchen where Janet and Evelyn are planning a week of meals, and where Lila is building a fort from cushions. He sits down, pours coffee into a chipped mug, and asks if anyone wants cinnamon. They do. He makes pancakes with a new kind of concentration, not efficient, but generous. Lila tells a joke that is terrible and perfect. Janet laughs like a bell. Later, when Lila falls asleep with a hand tucked under his, Miles feels a simple, expansive peace. The city continues its noisy commerce, but inside a small apartment life is counted not in revenue, but in presence. He reads the crayon note one more time and smiles at the audacity and the accuracy of the child's transaction. Miles, good night, kiddo. Lila, good night, daddy. The light goes out. The night is full of ordinary things being kept. Months later, At a small community center opening funded quietly by Miles' company, he stands before a modest crowd of neighbors, parents, and a few board members who came to see what had become of their investment. He hasn't prepared remarks. He speaks simply. Miles, I used to think wealth was a thing you piled. I was wrong. Wealth is the ability to show up. We measure growth in percentages, but growth is also the number of times you take someone's hand when the world feels slippery. The applause is small but sincere. Lila tugs at his sleeve and whispers, "You made everyone clap, Daddy." He realizes he prefers applause that smells like soup and not press releases. After the ribbon is cut, the music starts, kids singing off-key, instruments balanced on laps. The night is ordinary and holy at the same time. Miles folds his coat and, without fanfare, leaves a donation envelope on the registration table, not large and not small, exactly what the organizers asked for. He walks home with Lila, their silhouettes stitched together by streetlight and the soft industry of two people learning to keep one another.